Joining us now, Rusty Humphries, spokesman for the Tea Party Leadership Fund. Rusty, my old friend, it's good to have you with us here on America's Forum.
Thank you, JD. Appreciate it.
And we're glad to have you Skyping in. And Rusty, we now see IRS the targeting of Tea Party and other conservative groups. It's admitted in these emails came from our nation's capital. It wasn't shuffled off to Cincinnati. So in your opinion, how does this change the narrative?
Well, first of all, it's not really that big of a surprise. This administration and the Democrat Party has been very good at shifting the blame from themselves. It's never their fault. They've never done anything wrong. It's always somebody else's fault. So let's destroy somebody else's life. And by the way, isn't it a coincidence? The party that likes to talk about the war on women, nobody's made women take the fall more than this administration. They got a problem with the IRS? Give it to Lois Lerner. They have a problem with Obamacare? We're going to take out Sebelius. They have a problem with illegal immigration. We're going to take out Janet Napolitano. So the war on women I'm fighting also is coming directly from the Democrat Party. But this is also an uncomfortable position for me, JD, because when all this came down, the IRS came to my house and wanted questions and wanted documents. So it's affected me personally.
And Rusty, you know, as we look at this moving ahead in this election year, do you think there's still an impact of all this right now? Folks like yourself have been targeted. We've heard from Catherine Engelbrecht, also a conservative person who's been affected by this. Do you think there's still kind of that chilling effect out there for conservative groups?
Well, I know it has a chilling effect on my life. The question is, are people going to give up? I think it resolves our steel. I think it makes us say this is what we're fighting for. And, you know, if this was George W. Bush going after Democrats, I would stand up and say it was wrong. Barack Obama doing this, it's wrong. This is not what an elected official should have the power for. This is not what the IRS is for. This needs to be stopped, and the Democrats should be yelling about this just as loud as Republicans.
Now, Rusty, for purposes of full disclosure, you and I have been friends for a long time. You were kind enough to allow me to sit behind the microphone and fill in with you on your talk radio program that was heard from coast to coast. Obviously, for purposes of full disclosure, we have both labored as consultants and as spokesmen on behalf of the Tea Party movement. But this, and it's interesting to be on television to hear you talk about the IRS coming to your door. Now, I know I have a great deal of curiosity. Can you take it from the top? What exactly happened when the Internal Revenue Service showed up at your door?
So, JD, should I just hand over all my checks to them for the rest of my life? That's a great question. Thank you.
No, I mean, well, so,
no, I'm still in the middle of this, to be honest, and it's not fun. And let's just say I've been to their office now a couple of times, and they like every document I've ever. I believe they want my report card from second grade at this point, but I'm not positive. But I'm still in the middle of it. And by the way, for full disclosure, also, who is the biggest supporter of JD for Senate?
Oh, as a matter of fact, it's the one and only Rusty Humphries. But
okay.
I don't want to suggest that your support for me in 2010 brought the IRS down on your head. And in all sincerity, yeah, you deserve high marks for smiling through this, because let's face it, an IRS examination, whether it results in a full-fledged audit or whatever, is akin to a lobotomy with no anesthesia whatsoever, except you're able to keep your cognitive powers while this is all going on. This is a tough situation, and I guess to take the focus off of you, we could ask the question this way, Rusty. If it's happened to you, if it's happening to Catherine Engelbrecht, who else is being subjected to this scrutiny on the right side of issues as a conservative activist?
Well, let's just say this. I found it very coincidental that the week after the IRS came to my house, they went after a Tea Party leader who lives in the same neighborhood a week later. But I'm sure it was just a coincidence.
Wow.
But this is exactly what I was talking about. And the question for Rusty there is, you're still having to deal with this here, time that you could be spent out there trying to raise money for candidates or raise awareness for certain issues here. You're spending that time, Rusty, in the IRS's office.
Yeah, I've had some trouble. I will say this: the agent that I've been dealing with has been very nice and just asking a lot of nice questions. So I've got no personal beef with this guy, but and this is, hey guys, hey, thank you very much. This is a great topic for me to talk about on national television and the internet. Thank you. So let me just say, the IRS guys, you're wonderful, each and every.
Well, it speaks to your personal courage here, because listen, this is not easy, and obviously when you said they showed up, on this side of the mic and the camera, that sets off a lot of questions, as you would understand if roles were reversed, as they've often been when you've had me guest on your radio program.
All guns blazing, JD. So yeah.
Yeah, but it does bring to mind what can happen. We often hear this as a First Amendment argument from government scrutiny, and we saw the initiative by the new FCC, by Mignon Clyburn, to want to go to Columbia, South Carolina, and examine local content in newsrooms. The whole notion of the chilling effect, which means once government starts to scrutinize the behavior that is constitutionally protected theoretically, starts to wane. So do you believe, with your background in broadcast journalism and talk radio, is this now a textbook example of the chilling effect being utilized by this administration, with the IRS being the instrument of choice?
Absolutely, and it's not the first time this has been done. FDR did it very successfully. There was rumors of Nixon using it. Again, like I said earlier, I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican, independent, Green Party, a communist. Using the government to go after political enemies is wrong. And our friends on the other side of the aisle should be just as angry about this as we are. Because guess what? Someday there's going to be a Republican president again. Someday there's going to be a Republican Senate and a House that won't go after a government oversight if this happened. And they'll go after you next. So we all need to stop this behemoth as it's going down this hill as quickly as it is.
Well, Rusty, is there anybody on the left who has, at least expressed concern to your likeness, or I'm sorry, to your happiness about this? Is there anybody on the other side of the aisle here saying that, that you think is actually taking this seriously?
None that I've seen. It's always an excuse. Oh, it's just Lois Lerner. Oh, they did liberal groups too. Oh. No, again, it doesn't matter what your political leanings are. We still are Americans. We're still supposed to be fighting for, our republic and our people working together. And it's all become this left, right, Democrat, Republican garbage. It's got to stop. This government is out of control. And that's all we're talking about with the Tea Party. The government's just too big. They're just spending too much money. All we want to do is say, let's lessen the size and scope of government. That's all the Tea Party's about.
So, Rusty, you've been very candid explaining your own personal situation. Now to the Tea Party movement, to what you've cited as happening not only to you but to others in your neighborhood, quite literally. What happens to the Tea Party movement now as people are gearing up for the midterms?
Well, the left has done, and the Republican establishment have both done a very good job of trying to demonize the Tea Party. Oh, they're a bunch of racists. Oh, they hate. None of it's true. The Tea Party is about being, taxed enough already. It's about trying to stop the growth of the size and scope of government. It's about getting back to our constitutional values and our core beliefs. It's about supporting our country and our fellow countrymen. I don't understand. Not only are we not extreme, I think it's extreme to not believe in those values. And I think the Tea Party movement, as demonized as it has been, I think when somebody actually looks at what it is that the people are trying to do, I think we win converts over, because it just makes sense. It's common sense. And it's an important movement. And it is a people's movement. There is not one group. There's not one leader. It's all of, and that's one of the reasons why it's not real organized. It's because this is true democracy. This is truly the people trying to get our government in check so our republic can work properly.
Rusty, you made mention of the establishment within the Republican Party, and we would be remiss if we didn't pursue this line of questioning. Look, there's no way that the clash between establishment Republicans and grassroots activists can be nearly as traumatic as what you've gone through with the IRS and the heavy hand of official Washington, but to the ongoing battle between the establishment and the grassroots as manifest in the Tea Party. What's your take heading into all these different primaries?
Well, doing the whole full disclosure thing, and it's interesting you bring that up because, I'm in a different position. I'm a guy that's been a talk show host for almost 30 years. And now I'm on the other side because I wanted to see what it was like. And so I was the spokesman for the primary Boehner campaign. We had a candidate named J.D. Winteregg that went up against John Boehner. J.D., we couldn't get an interview in Ohio. People didn't want to talk. John Boehner was able to make it so that this candidate was unheard of. And there was a lot of money that was spent there. It was amazing how powerful the establishment can be and how they will circle the wagons to protect their own. Now, John Boehner's a guy that has been in that office, to put it in perspective. Home Alone was the #1 movie when John Boehner was elected. And have you seen that little kid lately? Things have changed.
Things have changed, Rusty.
John Boehner's been in Congress.
We appreciate the passion you bring to this, and we appreciate your courage in explaining the firsthand situation you're experiencing now. We want to have you back to talk more about these matters, both the establishment versus grassroots activists, and of course now, the ever curious eye of the IRS toward conservative activists. Rusty Humphries, we really appreciate your time. We look forward to having you here again.
Thanks, yeah.
And we'll also talk about something similar going on with Eric Cantor, what he's trying to do to his opponent right now with an interesting political ad coming up a little bit later in the show.
And your comments, we love to get them tweeted to us at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.